Rashni, are we ready?
Yes.
All
Right
right.
now.
Good evening and a very warm welcome, everyone. This is the 90th Friday learning session with College UX Design Community. My name is Hoy Chaudhary and I'm your host today. Thanks to all our members who has joined the Zoom session. And we are also live on YouTube today. So hi to all our viewers and subscribers who are watching us right now on YouTube. Coming to today's context, the topic, have you ever wondered what an average day in the life of UX designers look like in other companies? Be it a small startup or a mid-level company or a large MNC. Every organization tend to have different kinds of career progression and different types of career opportunities to offer. And our session tonight is all about that. It's about a day in the life of UX designers, where our community members, Aditi and Vikrant, both practicing UX designers, along with our chief instructor and mentor, Prasad, who is also our moderator today, by the way, will discuss their journey, their career progress, and their experience as designers to help the viewers understand how career opportunities across different kind of companies like startups, mid-level, and large-size companies look like, and how to prepare to get ready for such companies. Now, before proceeding, I would quickly like to share my screen and introduce our moderator, Prasad, here. I know you all already know him, but let me quickly share my screen.
Maybe we should introduce Vikrant and Aditi first, no? They are the guests.
Okay, sure.
I like to throw a swing ball in the middle of the game.
Sure. Why not? But I guess Vikrant and Aditi both would be able to introduce themselves better. But I'm just going to quickly start. Aditi is a UX designer from Pegasystems, and she comes from an architecture background. She has also done MDes in product designing, if I'm not wrong, Aditi, right?
That's right.
And she has started her journey as an entrepreneur in product designing, and then kind of moved into different roles. And right now, she is the UX designer at Pegasystems. And Vikrant is from Gurgaon, right? Vikrant?
Yes.
So he actually comes from a BCA background. And his journey is very interesting because from BCA, he moved to graphic design, then visual design, then right now core UX. So he's a senior UX designer of his company. And when he joined his company, it was a startup, and right now it has kind of moved to a mid-level company with. I think you have also had a series funding for your company, right? In the past, yeah. So he also has an interesting journey to share. I would ask you guys to introduce yourselves now. Aditi, why don't you go first then?
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm Aditi. So I'm an architect, but I'm a UX designer as well. So the journey has been like amazing with lots of ups and downs. So architecture kind of built a design thinking base for me, which was kind of further developed as I did my MDes at IIC. So see, in architecture you learn designing for an individual, but when you're like doing product designing, you learn how to design for like a large group of people, designing for masses. And then I was an entrepreneur for 4 or 5 years. That taught me that like all this design वगैरह is excellent, but what really matters is delivery. You deliver something good and you deliver it on time. So that professional integrity is what I learned as an entrepreneur. Then like post COVID, I actually thought of just settling down, getting a job, and I had like did my first job in 2021 in Mumbai, where I got a chance to design products for like lakhs or 2 lakhs of, I mean, that was the kind of user base we had. And I got a lot of hands-on user testing and user research experience, which helped me kind of get into Pega. In Pega, of course, I'm learning UX every single day. I'm learning from my peers. I'm learning from every project that I do. But the most important thing that I'm learning in this like big MNC is being accountable and kind of building a reliable image for yourself. That's what I'm right now. Um, uh, if I talk about my future, uh, I mean, where I want to go is kind of be a reputable UX designer and kind of, like be recognized for some niche design that I get to create. That's where I'm at right now. If that
Awesome.
strikes a chord with you.
Vikrant, would you want to go next?
Yes. So hi, hello friends. So I am Vikrant, and currently I am working in a ad tech startup in Gurgaon-based ad tech startup. So I'm here working as a senior UX designer, and also while talking about my journey. So my journey goes like this. Well, there are many ups and downs, and there are many changes that I have faced. So in 12th, I was good in programming languages. Then after, I decided to do Bachelor in Computer Application, not BTech as usual everyone is doing. Uh, and in second year of my graduation, I uh, I found some interest in design and especially in the graphics thing. So when I was explored in graphic design, so I have done a 3 month graphic design course from Arena Animation. And after 2015, when I completed my BCA, then I got a job as a graphic designer in Delhi. That was my first job, and after in second month of my job, I got to know about the UX design. What is UX design? So I explored for myself what is UX and what are their technicalities and how is different from the graphics. So I learned my own, and after a couple of interview, I got an opportunity as a junior visual designer, and then start up a studio, kind of a design agency. So I worked there around 5 years, where I learned more about the visual aspects and the UX aspects of the product, how the website works, how the mobile application works, what are the things we need to consider while designing, what are the things we need to consider for designing a mask for user base from the different domains, like from ad tech to fintech to real tech to real estate tech and to and most of the other. So uh, and then I joined a early age startup, which is very uh, which is a very interesting point in my life, because there I have doing a multiple role in uh, my organization. From I have worked as a I mainly design. I've hired as a UX designer, but I do all kind of design stuff, like from the print design to the brochure design to and every kind of design. So and later, when the company evolved, we got fundraising. So we create a hierarchy, and I hired a few of the junior and the senior designers who can help me in this my journey of the startup. So we are a currently team of 5 designers. So first in visual designer, and rest 4 others with the product designer. So this is my journey.
Nice. Awesome.
Amazing.
So, yeah, go ahead, Hoy.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. And I think I should also say about you, Prasad, that you have over 20 years of journey as a designer, then turned an entrepreneur, and then a teacher now, right? So over 20 years, you have mentored so many people, you have trained so many people, and compared to all large scale companies where people are generally recruited from tier 1 and tier 2 design institutes coming with like formal design education, for your own company in UX Reactor, you have built and trained designers from ground up. That means like people coming from various backgrounds without any formal design education. So my question, Prasad, to you is, what made you realize this need of the practical approach in design training?
Interesting question. And I think for me, my realization was that, and my background, interestingly, is very similar to what Aditi and Vikrant, like I have, like parts of my life are very similar to both of them. And I really appreciate, just before I go, I appreciate that Aditi is approaching design from an entrepreneur's mindset, because the fact that she said, it's not whether you're doing design or not, it's whether you're delivering value to the organization. That is really important. Whether you're delivering value to what you're shipping, right? And that is really, really important. And I think I really appreciate that perspective, because that, for me, what I realized was coming from a design perspective, and I've trained people around the world while I used to go all around the world, like training people, Asia Pacific, Europe, all those places. And then eventually I came to India to kind of do some nonprofit work where again, I was teaching. And then when we set up the company, it was very interesting was the thing that I realized was no matter where I was hiring from, again, it wasn't just before UX Reactor, I was hiring for my company wherever I was working for, and no matter where I was hiring from, most people struggled to get on board. And the struggle was interesting and including me, I struggled big time. And I was telling Aditi, like, the kind of discipline that I was in was product design, very similar. My training was very similar. It is a very generalist kind of a role. But when I got into UX, it was a specialized role. And when you get into a specialized role from a generalist, initially your career is slow. And then it accelerates very, very fast because you're coming from a generalist perspective. And one of the reasons my career was slow and the mistakes that I made were mostly around like understanding, well, what is the problem? Why is the company asking me to solve this problem? Why am I solving this problem? Is there a better and a cheaper way to solve this problem? Because it was very easy to say, listen, the engineers thought it was not possible. This guy didn't think it was possible. So I am the victim in this game. Nobody wants to listen to a designer. But really, that wasn't the point. There are business reasons that because of which something is possible or not possible. And understanding that took me some time, because that is what helped me get better at my job. The second thing that I also realized was there were techniques and systems that you have to know when you're getting into UX as a specialist. And again, nobody told me that. And the third part was, how do you deal with people? Because dealing with people is what helps you succeed. It's not about knowing your stuff. It's not about getting a degree. The degree simply opens the door for you to get interviewed. But your success at your work, right, is maybe 10%. When you're a junior person, it's about your ability to deliver. But after that, it's about your ability to deal with people, right? And if I'm not able to deal with people, that's where I struggle. So I realized, like, pretty much no matter where I hired from, everybody was struggling with the same problems, right? Everybody starting from zero. And my deal was, it took me 5 years to figure all of this out and get to a stage where I was comfortable and kind of growing in my career. And my deal is like, why should it take people 5 years, right? I mean, if we can talk about it and train ourselves to do that, maybe we can reduce it to 1 year. You reduce the pain and the frustration that we have to go through, and we become more effective. And that was one perspective. And then when I started UX Reactor, my feeling was, listen, even if I hired from, some of the top schools or, the worst schools, I've talked about it before, the quality mix is about the same. So I kind of said, you know what, I'm going to start from the ground up and I'm going to hire people that are passionate and smart. That was my only two criteria. I didn't care if they didn't know design. I had people who came to me thinking they would learn chip design and realize they were doing UX design. So, because in those days, UX design wasn't even a topic. But for me, that's what we said. First 6 months, we're going to learn the practical way. You don't have to do like, say, 5 years, 6 years. Let's do the practical way of doing design. Let's understand how to deal with people. Let's understand how to deal with your peers in other disciplines. Let's understand how to deal with the business. If we can learn these three concepts, we get effective. And that, for me, was the practical way of doing things.
Yeah, I remember you used to always say that, no matter which design institute you go to or you hire from, none of them would be able to execute from day one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I'm sure even within our group, where everybody is a working designer or most people are working designers, they would say the same thing. On day one, it probably took them months or a year at best to kind of get ready to start delivering. And I think, reducing that is the key, is the game for us.
Excellent. So, Aditi, why don't you share your journey with us and help us understand a little bit about how the ecosystem at Pegasystems work and how you have prepared for interview and when you joined the company.
Would love to. I'm going to share my screen, okay? A very meaty thing I'm going to do, but helps. So just let me. I hope everybody can see my screen. So Pega, let me just quickly tell you about Pega. Pega is like a MNC, like with offices all across the world. We are like 6,500 people, 2,000 are in India. And I mean, when it comes to UX, Pega is a big product with big parts, like big different parts to it. We designers kind of have different parts that we design specifically. I design security, and I'm a remote worker. Let me kind of tell you about what like pros and cons of remote work, because that's like a topic close to my heart. Pros are, I save big on travel time. I don't have to travel for 3 days every day, so 3 hours every day. But then I miss all the connections. I mean, that I could have had. And one of my colleagues is actually pursuing an ISB management course. I just get to hear it about via mail. I don't get to talk to him. So that's a big miss on my part. So just, I mean, if anybody's thinking about remote work, just a flag for you. That's about Pega. Okay, so this is something that I really love to explain. So see, when I joined Pega, I thought like it's a big MNC. So we would kind of have this hierarchical order of work. I'll be like the junior designer. My manager will get work. He will give it to me, and then I'll have to kind of do a lot of to and fro conversations. Receive, this is my concept. Please understand. But Pega is none of that. There's just no hierarchy when it comes to UX. We have some hierarchy as far as management goes. I mean, I have a manager, but he doesn't interfere with my design. Design happens mostly something like this. I am the sole owner of my project. I decide what goes on that screen and what doesn't. What I do is I discuss it with a lot of stakeholders meaning like project manager. We have a usability team, so I discuss usability of the design with them. It's a very technical product, so I had to talk to software architects as well if I don't understand the concept. There are also like my work is dependent on another designer's work, so there's that kind of a team member. So it's just a lot of conversations surrounding design. That's how design happens. But I'm the owner. I'm the one who finally, I'm the one who shares the final design, and the liability is mine only. My manager is not liable. Project managers are liable to some extent, but if there's some problem with the design, they're going to come to me. So there are pros and cons. I really like the fact that nobody else interferes in my designing, and I don't have to answer to any other designer's ideas. That's the best part. That's how the work kind of ownership kind of goes. Then, okay, this is another fun thing. So, like fresh out of college, I thought, okay, we'll do user research, we'll do ye study, wo study, then we will design, iterate with the client, then iterate the designs, and then deliver. This never happens. Hello, sorry to burst your bubble. So what happens in a mix of it? So I designed something. So at Pega, we have very well established design patterns, design systems. So designing happens very fast. If I had to design something, I could design an entire flow in a week. It won't take more than that. But then we do a lot of discussions. Now, see, it's a worldwide product, is a big product. So even if I have to add a drop down on a screen, it's a big deal. I have to check accessibility. I have to make sure that it fits the software architecture. That design component doesn't interfere with the, it shouldn't create problem for the software, because if it creates a problem, it's going to cost money to my company, and it's going to be like in big dollars. So I mean, it never comes to it, but so we kind of do a lot of discussions. Sometimes I involve SMEs, then I go back to the drawing board. Sometimes like in these meetings, sometimes we scope out the design. Like we start with something, but then in the middle, we'll just change it and begin something else. So the design happens this way. It happens more like collaboration, if that makes sense to you. I mean, probably I did not do a good job at explaining, but anyways, and this is how the design process kind of goes. So the length of this shows the time that I spent on different activities. I spent about 40% of my time designing, but the rest is divided into assignment of work. So we have this, like I said, my manager doesn't come to me with work, or even the project managers don't come to me with work. We track all of this work on a work portal. It's Pega's own product. So we track everything there. The sprints are there. All my tasks are there. I just go to that portal. I know what task I need to work on, and I organize the tasks in my sprints. So I decide ki, acha, for this sprint of 2 weeks, what I'll be doing. And then I deliver that. Requirement gathering, scoping out a project is all part of my work. If I feel like usability is required, talking to that SME and pulling them into the project is part of my work. Then there's design, and then we have like I share the work on this final portal, and like as designers we get a lot of reworks, but the best part at Pega is if you have rework, it's going to become another item, another work item, which I can pick up later on in another different sprint. I don't have to, basically my work doesn't get wasted. It's always accounted for. I really like that part. Okay. Okay. What's most exciting about my work at Pega is global collaboration. I work with people from Poland and US mostly, and it's amazing. I mean, I really get to learn a lot from their work ethic. Then it's amazing when you get to see your work kind of being reflected on the portal. So you design something and it's out there and people are using it. It's very gratifying. I learn a hell lot from people. I have learned a lot from Bhaskar. I mean, he's my peer at Pega and have learned a lot from him. I also learn about development, Pega being a development product. So it's fun. What's most frustrating, see, Pega being a big product, we have to follow systems. We cannot do anything haphazardly. So that's a pro, but sometimes you have to kind of compromise on your creativity. So it gets a bit frustrating. Then this part is more about managing people. Like Prasad said, 40% is design, other 60% is just managing people and communication. So sometimes it does get frustrating. Challenging is like for one product that I'm working, I have 3 different project managers and I have to kind of align them all. So it feels like, you know how your friends used to fight in childhood and you kind of had to like, "Arey, nahi, listen, this is what we are going to do." So it kind of feels that way. Not exactly, but that's how it feels. What I have learned, soft skills. I have really learned how to communicate your ideas and how to communicate your designs. And another thing that I'm kind of proud of is I'm learning to be reliable. I have a long way to go, but I'm learning. And keeping my cool, that's very important in a hectic meeting. I get a practice of it daily. Every single day I have to practice keeping my cool. Next, okay. Yeah, so how did I get into Pega? Like when I applied for Pega, I had only applied for 4 companies and I got into 2 of them. So I did not apply for 50 companies. But like before that, what I did is I iterated my resume at least 50 times. I talked to people from IT, I talked to other designers. I iterated the hell out of that resume. Also the same with my portfolio site. Then this was a fun exercise. If you haven't, I would recommend you do it. I figured out my strengths. For example, UI is not my strength. UX is, and there are like many. I did like a SWOT analysis of myself, and based on my strengths, I just went out and looked for companies who could benefit from my strength, and then I applied for 4 places, and I did not apply from company portal or LinkedIn. I applied via referrals. Referrals is the best way to get hired. That's the reason I got into 2 companies out of 4. So I recommend everybody do that. If you're interested in Pega's process of hiring, you have 3 to 4 rounds. First step is your resume needs to get selected. It has to be an awesome resume. So make sure you do that. Then first round is HR screening. I had a telephone call with the HR guy. He just asked me basic questions. I went through it. So as you succeed your rounds, you move on to the next rounds. Second round was a primary call with design team at Pega. They discussed my portfolio. After that, they gave me a design assignment to complete over the weekend, and they liked what I had created. There was one more call, like where online in an hour while the design team being present, I had to design something like a quick design task. So that was there. They liked that performance as well. And the last call was like the last boss of UX hierarchy at Pega. And the fun part is you would expect the last boss to ask you many design questions. They don't. Like it happened with the other company as well. They don't actually ask you design questions. They ask you questions about yourself as a person. He asked me, will I be open to learning development? What is my approach to design like, or what do I like in general? So he was kind of trying to get feel of me as a person. He didn't ask me a single design question. He didn't ask me for heuristics, nothing of that sort. And okay, this could be a pointer, probably. Like the other place that I got hired at, they mentioned what they really liked about so they had a design assignment. What they liked about my design was, with that design, you could actually make a tangible difference to people. So they pointed out, this was nice about my design solution. So whenever you are doing these design assignments, maybe you can keep that in mind. Some pointers about interviews. I mean, everybody knows these, okay, but I made the presentation, so let me talk. So I went through a lot of YouTube videos. They are very helpful. But what I also learned is interviews are unpredictable. very unpredictable. You don't know what questions you're going to get asked. But at the same time, people who interview are very nice. I haven't found a single rude person. So what would really help is being just authentic with them. Like, in my primary interview at Pega, I showed something and they were like, okay, this project is not relevant for us. So I was like, oh damn, now what do I do? So I asked them, okay, okay, give me 4 days. I'll prepare a relevant project for you. Will you please do that for me? And they complied. They actually gave me another slot to present the other design that I was talking about. So take a chance. I mean, interviewing people are nice. And yeah, what other thing that I did was I practiced presenting my portfolio to different people. I did like mock interviews. So that way I was kind of ready for any googly that came my way. And yeah, like I said, the design head didn't ask me about any design. He asked me about me as a person. So
Awesome. So we'll take a slight pause here, Aditi, and
Could
I'll
I
come
add
back
a
with...
couple of things?
Yes, sure.
So this is awesome, Aditi. So a couple of things I want to point out. You've always heard me say within our community and on all my YouTube videos, people, invariably say, okay, I have to do the double diamond process. I have to draw the double diamond. Okay. Well, truth is, if somebody draws the double diamond, I know they have never worked in the industry. Because what Aditi was showing that is like, you never do a double diamond in the industry based on your constraints and the requirements and what you need to deliver. You basically improvise to kind of get this job done. Right? If somebody has the luxury of doing double diamond, they never worked under time pressure. And that is something that's really, really important. And that's why I do not recommend that people do double diamond when they do their portfolios. Okay. Do the process that made sense. The other one that Aditi also did really, really well. And this is, if you want to get into good companies, you have to be prepared. And the same deal with me, like I have probably applied to maybe about 10 companies in my lifetime. And I've probably been accepted in about 50% of those places. And so it's a similar ratio. So when I look at even that, most people think doing the portfolio is the job. Actually, no, what Aditi did, she presented, she practiced the presentation, because the final delivery is what makes people actually realize whether you're good or not. So when you practice speaking, that makes a huge amount of difference. So don't just stop when you say my portfolio is ready in some file. Learn to talk about it and explain it and rationalize why you did what you did. And that is another really, really important thing that you did. The other one that you did was you spent time talking to people and crafting your resume, which is another thing. The more time you practice, the more time you think about what you have done, why you have done, the better you're prepared for that role. So I think these are not just, Aditi, just to clarify for you, when you say that, this is how it works in Pega, no, it works pretty much the same way in every type 3 company. And in a type 3 company, it's always that when you're hiring, as a hiring manager, we are desperate because we don't know whether, because out of 1,000 resumes, I might just get 1 or 2 people that might be real good. So for me, I don't want to miss out those 1 or 2 people because going through 1,000 resumes is painful.
Right.
So for me, I'm just like, listen, if Aditi is there and I think she's got the potential, let me give her another chance. Let me do it. And people are nice. And that's the other aspect. Aditi didn't panic. When they said, oh, this is not, they were probably trying to see how you would react to negative feedback. And so they say, okay, and this is also a technique. If somebody says, this is not the project, Aditi was completely cool. She said, okay, fine. She renegotiated and she moved on. That's a huge plus in itself. You don't panic in those kinds of situations. Never try to solve the problem. Try to think, okay, what else can I do? what are the variables here? So awesome job, Aditi. Like I'm just like full fida on your presentation.
Thank you. Well, it like the practice with people, showing my portfolio to people kind of helped me. First for the first time, it was like it really hurt my ego when my uncle, who like is not even a designer, but he's like, what is this? Like, why did you do this? So it really hurt my ego. So I had practice on getting my ego hurt. So probably that's why I was like, "Acha, theek hai, you didn't like my project. Let me show you something
Yeah,
else."
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So with that, we're gonna shift to Vikrant. So Vikrant, you wanna talk about your journey and your experience?
Yeah, sure. So, I would like to share my journey in my current company, which is early age startup to a mid-level company. So, what I have learned and what I have done in my company. So, let me share my screen. Um, so, this is my journey that I have already talked about. So, I want also give my current the brief of my current company. So, my current company is an ad tech startup that I told earlier, and we are mainly focusing on to give an affordable education to a tier 2 or tier 3 cities in school through the schools. So we are a B2B2C company, and we are creating some learning products for the students for the speaking English and for coding. So we are the two primary. So these are the two primary offerings we are giving. So, and this is my role in my organization. So I am a senior designer. So now I like to talk about the journey. So how I started working there. So initially, as I told you, I was used to do every kind of a design task, and I was the only designer there. Then after we got the funding, so our company tried to set up our team in each and every domain of the company. So we created a product team. So their company hired the CPO, and the company hired some PMs and SPMs for the different roles. And parallelly, we are the design, and we are also growing from one designer to a five designer or the six designers as per the requirement. So while recruiting and while creating a design process in my company, so what I have learned is there is no set design process is good for your company. So it should be customized as per your requirements. So till now we have changed three design process. So from to gathering the problem statement to final design handoff. So we have started first creating like initially we did not involve developers in our first uh, design ideation practice. Then we came up the idea कि we should have also involved the senior EMs or the developers, so they will give insight earlier before creating the design and the ideation part. Then we shift the strategy to different team. Then our team grows to 3 to 5 designers. Then we shift a little bit of change, and that is matlab, it is continuously parallelly we are doing all kind of stuff these stuff. So and I am the only person there who was responsible to set up a design guideline and design system in the company. Before there was no design guidelines and though no design pattern library or the system exists. So because I was the only, so I know which component or the which element that I have to use for this particular kind of a thing. So but now we are growing, so we have to be create the particular kind of a guidelines and the design system. So I hired multiple designers in multiple roles. So we are mainly looking for the senior designers for the individual contributor. So uh, let me stop sharing this. So just give me a second.
So, Vikrant, when you hire for your team, do you want your team to come with a design training, or you also hire from the ground up?
So while we are hiring, so we have a 4 5 specifically requirement that we are looking for from the designers. The first is कि, the designer should have a tool proficiency, so we can because startup is a very fast paced, we are in a very fast paced environment, so and we have a very tight deadlines, so we are looking for a designer who are good in tool proficiency, and but we are not looking for a designer who has any formal education in UX. So it is not mandatory for us, but we will give the priority to the candidate who has the formal education.
Okay.
So, and we are looking for the someone who rapidly मतलब adaptive who जो रैपिडली अडेप्ट कर सके सब चीज़ों को, एंड जो स्पीड और बैलेंस को सॉरी स्पीड और एक्यूरेसी को बैलेंस कर सके. So we are looking for these kind of a role
Got
in
it.
our designers.
Got it. And what's challenging in this part? Like, do you face any particular challenge, or what's interesting?
So the major challenges while we are hiring, there is because we are a startup at that time, uh, the candidate should not apply that easily, or the candidates who ever applied in this is for the role and we got the offer, they rejected very easily, so because they are shopping offer. So this is the one of the frustrating point while we are hiring, and yes, this is the most frustrating part.
So there are like last moment dropouts
Right,
after the
right.
offer. Okay, okay.
Yes,
I think that's a problem everywhere.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Right. Prasad, you are on mute
Sorry.
if you're talking.
One of the things that resonated with me with what Vikrant was saying was startups. Doing a startup, initially he was doing everything.
Yes.
And I kid you not, like a year in a startup is equivalent to 3 or 4 years in a regular company. But at the same time, I'm sure you probably had lots of sleepless nights, lots of like days when you're just like, I just want to go and get into bed and go to sleep. And I want to sleep for like 10 hours or 20 hours at a stretch. Is that right?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And that level of, it's very intense, but you get to see the same problem from so many different perspectives because, you know, one time you're picking up the customers' phones and you're talking to them. Another time you might actually be going into the customer's office to see deployment. Third time you might be, you know, designing this, you know, the software. So your roles are not defined in startups. But for those of you that are comfortable with ambiguity, you know, nothing can touch a startup experience.
Yes.
And this is the other thing that I also tell people is, especially within our group, I say, like, when you're getting your job, okay, your first couple of jobs, don't worry about the salary. Right? Worry about who you're working with. You know? Because the appropriate people that you work with will give you that level of exposure, that way of thinking that will stay with you for the rest of your career. So, you know, in many ways, I think startups are valuable. But again, you know, I would love to hear from Vikrant, like, you know, if you had to do a startup, join a startup again versus join an established company, which one would you prefer now that you've gone through everything?
So for now, in my total experience of 7 years, I only worked in a very fast-paced environment. So from the design agency to this current startup. So I would love to join a MNC, a Type 3 company. So
Got it.
where I got to I want to learn the existing processes what are the existing processes, and what are the processes which helps in scaling a big team. So where here I am also doing a different kind of experiment in my team. So let's suppose, for an example, uh, now we are a team of four designers. So let's suppose one problem is given by the CXO, directly from the CXO, and we have to ideate on it, and we have to propose a solution on it. So here I was the point of contact to CXO. So what I will do is I give same problem statement to my junior designers, so they can explore it, and so they can directly, work on it without my help initially. So once they propose a solution to me, so, and I add some of the points, and I collaborate with the PMs and SPM directly, and we create an idea. We create idea the solution, and then we present to the CXO. So we have a liberty to in for our junior designers, they directly work on the problem rather than giving to the filter of PM and for filter of mine, and directly. So that's we are doing in our organization for their growth as well.
Okay, got it. Interesting. So that brings another question that I want to ask both Aditi and Vikrant, and I want to do a compare and contrast. Okay. And for the rest of you guys, if you have any questions, please type them in. If there's anybody, has questions on the YouTube channel, type it in. Somebody's looking at it, they'll pass it on to me. But here's my question.
So we
Okay.
have one question from
Yeah,
YouTube.
but wait, let me
which
ask
will
this question.
Yes, sure.
Let me ask this question, and then I'll go. Aditi, so in probably like 5 sentences, okay, both of you have mentioned that you work in fast-paced environments, okay. Can you give me an example of a fast-paced? What does fast-paced mean for you at Pegasystems? Like, what is the scope of work, and how quickly do you need to complete it? And
Okay.
what is the problem that you're generally solving?
It doesn't happen normally. I mean, this case doesn't happen normally. It was like a one-off crazy incident. So
Okay.
I had 4 days to complete a design, and I had to design it from scratch, get the user testing done, get the mockups done, get them validated by designers and usability SME and everybody. So I had like 4 days to get everything done.
Got it. And this doesn't happen often. So I'm assuming this is probably what, once a year, twice a year? Is that what it is?
Once a year event.
Once a year. Okay. And normally, how much time do you get to complete a sprint?
Normally, I spend about 45 days.
45 days. Awesome.
It depends. On an average, I guess 1 month, but sometimes I have like a big project, it takes 45 days.
Okay, 1 month to 45 days. I saw Vikrant's face. So Vikrant, tell us, what is the pace of your work, and how frequently do you have those fast-paced jobs?
I mean, every time. So generally we got a problem statement, and our PM says, or the CXO says, we need this by the end of the day. I go, why? How can we do this in a single day, or in 7 or 8 hours? So we let them understand that design is not work like this. We does not have to create mockups and just to put on your feedbacks and just give to the developers. So generally, for creating a flow, entire flow for any feature, we got a maximum days for 3 to 4 days, while maintaining our design system, or maybe because we are parallelly scaling our design system and the design guidelines for the different products. So we have to take care of that thing in our mind. Then we have to parallelly ideating and trying to achieve the solution that they want from us, and yes, we have to do it within 3 to 4 days. Maximum is 4 to 5 days.
Wow.
And this is you're doing every day. You're doing this every day.
Yes.
Every day you go to. Now, let me ask another question, because when somebody is watching, They might think, okay, wow, I want the easy life. Okay, I want to do the 30-day cycle. I want to do the 45-day cycle. But let me ask you this, okay? What is the advantage and the disadvantage of the way you work? So what have you gained by working 4-day cycles? And what have you lost by working 4-day cycles?
So
And then
what I
Aditi, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you gain by doing 30-day cycles? What do you lose by doing 30-day cycles?
so what I lose is my sleep only. So and what I gain. So because I'm here for the 3 years, so I know my user very well than the other fellow designers. So we does not always create the user persona, then what their things, their problems. So we already know and we write it down all the pain points there. So generally, and one of the great thing in my company is ki we are not just creating for a specific kind of users. We are creating a learning product for the Gen Z and for the new youth, and we are creating a product for the teachers for the 40 plus 50 plus. So here this is learning what we are uh, doing in a rapidly, and one of the greatest thing, we deploy very fast. We deploy very fast, and when we deploy very fast, we got to know ki which feature or which type of things that user love to use or not. We does not have any time for doing a usability testing, because of we have to, most of the times we have to deploy MVPs of the new features. So once we deploy or once we create it, then we will do usability testing, and we also get to know about the behavior, how the teachers work, how the student work. So these are my
So,
things.
so what is interesting is you have access to data, direct data. So
Yes,
once you ship it, you know whether it worked or not. And
yes.
for me, that is addictive. It's like a drug, because once, I shipped it, 400 people or 4,000 people loved it. It's a drug. And then, it's like you can't forget it anymore. It's like a hit you get. So Aditi, what about you? What do you gain by doing 30-day cycles, and what do you lose by doing 30-day cycles? And again, what I want everybody to understand is there's no perfect company, right? What I want you to realize is each one of you have an internal preference for, or a natural aptitude for, certain types of companies. And so I want you to listen to what Aditi and Vikrant are saying, so you can see like which one you would enjoy more. Go ahead, Aditi.
So, I mean, what I gain is, see, in my previous company, this is how we used to work. Like, subah mein CEO will tell, sham tak chahiye. And then, so I have been part of that, and I didn't like it. I mean, it was a rush, so probably I'm losing that rush. So he would, I would have developed the entire end-to-end mobile application with everything. And on one day he tells me, you have 3 days, entirely give me something new. So all of that work is gone, and in 3 days I have to complete entirely new application. So, but there was this rush that I felt while doing that. My brain worked like I don't know how many. If there's a measurement, it worked a lot faster. Uh, right now, so what I'm gaining is I'm being a lot more cautious. So when I'm working in this 30-day, 45-day cycle, it's a lot more cautious. So we actually have like very good systems. So it's very fast to kind of come up with designs like that. What takes time is the multiple validations that I have to go through. So at every point, I have to answer a different stakeholder. So what I'm gaining from that is if I put something on my screen, it's deliberate. There's like a lot of thought gone into it because I have to defend the design to all these stakeholders. So I'm gaining like I don't know what's the word for it, but like everything is done with a purpose. Okay, if I have placed this here, these are my 10 different reasons that I have. Probably that
So
reliability or accountability, I guess.
I love this because there is something that's been unsaid between both of you. Okay. The unsaid thing is when you're a small company, you have nothing to lose if you do an experiment. So Vikrant has full freedom to do it. And Aditi also, right? You didn't have a risk. Go do it. If you're sitting on $1 billion product and you make a change and you literally see your revenue go down in minutes, you're losing stock market valuation, isn't it? So you have to be a lot more careful about what you're doing. You have to think from many perspectives. Or if you do something, especially security, you do something, you are liable for lawsuits, right? And multi-billion-dollar lawsuits. So there is significant cost for it. So it's not that Aditi is doing less work than before, right? She's probably doing just as much work as before, but earlier where she was only doing design, now she has to look at design from so many different perspectives and make sure it is done well. Right? And that is the core difference between a larger organization and a smaller organization. Now, let me ask you this other question, and then we will open it up for everybody else. But learning on your job. Okay. Aditi, where do you think you learned more?
Oh, at Pega.
Okay,
Like,
tell me more. Tell me about it. How did you learn and what does the learning experience look like?
Pega being a big company, they actually have learning resources for us. So I can very well, and companies paying for all of those courses. So it's a big perk. So I get to learn whatever I want to learn. I can learn whatever. So I actually did generative AI courses, and I'm also doing some psychology course. Like it's all legally, my manager also knows everything. So that's one part of working at MNC. The other part is you get to interact with many people. I talk to so many software architects. Not one of them is same. Everybody has a different thing to teach. So even if I'm discussing security with two different architects, they'll tell me about the concepts in two different slices of the same, two different sections. So I'm learning a hell lot about development, like application develop programming concepts in general. I'm learning a lot about that. Another big, so design, and so things that I require for designing is stick. I mean that anybody would learn on a project. But what I really find precious is the way people work. You know, everybody has the same amount of stress, but the way they manage their work, it's just amazing. When I have learned from my co-designer from the US, the way she kind of conducts meetings. So if it's an hour of a meeting, she can derive insights from it. So the the way she communicates, the way she manages timelines for everybody, it's amazing to work. So everybody teaches some different soft skills to it. I I I just find that very precious.
Interesting. So what you said is you learn from a couple of different places. One is your company supports your learning,
Mhm.
and two, you learn from your peers.
Oh, very much. I learned so much from Bhaskar. I'm saying it
Nice.
again.
Vikrant, what's your thought about learning in your experience working for small and medium companies?
So, about my learning, so there, uh, मतलब, apart from the design, what I'd say is कि I directly get the insight of the business कि क्या चल रहा है क्या नहीं चलेगा and set the priority of the product and the features कि what should be roll out or what should be not. There are not only the pressure of the how the user or behave or the work, but there are the accountability towards investor as well कि why your product is not working like the way you have tell us, or like, because there are accountability for our founders, for them, and our accountability to them. So they directly tell us or they explain us कि what they want us from the business side. So, and we have to maintain a balance between both business side and the user side. So this is the main learning. And apart from the cross-functional team, so I have directly collaborated with the tech team. So initially, when I was joined, so we are using the native mobile applications. Now we are using the Flutter apps. So I got to know about those technological constraints, what Flutter should it have, and what the native mobile applications would have a good feature or not. So apart and because of the small organization, I know कि what is going into the sales things कि sales में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या चल रहा है, right? So from the designer's perspective, uh, uh, just like let's suppose one of our sales executive needs a kind of a collateral. but we design it on or our with our thought process. But when we interact with them directly, they tell us, no, no, no. The school principal does not want this; they want that. So we have to iterate that at a very fast pace, and we have to deliver it. And then we also validate कि फर्स्ट वन वाला ज्यादा बेटर था या सेकंड वन वाला ज्यादा बेटर था. सो इसका डायरेक्ट एक्सेस था अपने पास. दूसरा, तो मार्केट फ्रॉम द मार्केट, फॉर द मार्केटिंग पर्सपेक्टिव, same things happens कि the kind of a post, the kind of a offline marketing, what are the good suitable things, uh, uh, and most of the insights of the are users directly from their different teams across teams. So I got to know those insights very fast through our products.
So this is interesting. So all the learnings that you have are directly tied to your customer. You're basically figuring out what design will I do? How will it impact my customer? Right? So in many ways, you're not learning design, right? But you're learning the business of design.
Yeah.
And that is really, really important. In large companies, you get the luxury of learning design in greater depth. Right? You are good at what you do, but you're learning from other people who are good at what they do. Okay. In small to medium-sized companies, it's a small team, everybody is running. You don't have time to learn about design, but you have time to learn about the business of design. Not just that, it's not a luxury to learn for you, Vikrant. You have to learn. If you don't learn, then your business is not moving.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very different mindset. And both those pieces of knowledge are just as critical. I've seen so many designers who stagnate in big companies because they don't understand the business of design. They're really good at design themselves, but they don't understand the business of design, they stagnate. Right? The same way, I've also seen people in small to medium-sized companies who stagnate because they don't have time to get really good at design, but they're good at the business of design. So both of those pieces are absolutely critical for people to grow in their career. And one of the things I will tell you from my background, from my experiences working in the Silicon Valley, okay, our timelines were basically about 3 weeks. Okay. And the kind of problems we would have is with a combination of both, right? The kind of problems we would have is like, okay, yeah, you have to do this. And by the way, 2 weeks later, somebody comes like, oh yeah, we lost about $5 million. Or yeah, we gained about $100 million. You hear those kinds of comments. It's very common. Okay. So it's a mix of both. That's where the other part comes in is, Aditi, you are in a B2B company, whereas Vikrant, I think you are in a B2C company.
B2B.
And B2B and B2C have completely different mindsets. B2C is like doing, 100-meter sprints. Whereas B2B is like doing a 26-mile, it's a marathon. You're running a marathon. It's different mindsets, different design thought process. So again, for those of you that are looking at this and wondering what career you want to go into, think about this. Think about, okay, would you enjoy working in sprints? Would you like playing with the business of design? But you have to learn both. There is no choice. But which one do you enjoy? And then start planning around it. Okay. The other thing Vikrant has that he's kind of talked about on a side is he reports directly to the CXO, the CTO, the CEOs. Okay. And these guys probably have 5, 10, 15 years of experience. To get that kind of mentorship in a large company is nearly impossible. Okay. In a small to medium company, it is guaranteed that you'll get that mentorship, but the intensity is much more. So now I'm going to open the question to Jasmine. Then I will take a question from Muzakir from YouTube. Then we will take a question from you, Achyut, and then we'll take a question from Kranti after that. Okay? Go ahead, Jasmine.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome presentation, guys. So glad to have you here, Vikrant and Aditi. So, Aditi, are you from Mumbai?
Yeah.
Great, awesome. Finally, we have a college member from Mumbai.
Did you make it from my face?
No, from your surname, Deshpande.
Deshpande.
Yes. So, Aditi, my question is already in chat if you want to read it also, and I'll say it.
No,
So, how do you
mind you
make
say
sure?
it? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, how do you make sure that what problem you're solving is the right one in a remote scenario?
Um, I don't imagine it would be a lot different. I just schedule multiple. So unless I understand the problem, I cannot begin designing. So what I do every day is I talk to stakeholders and see the way the design language that we speak and that they speak is different. So now what I have resorted to is I open a FigJam and whatever is being said, I start drawing diagrams of it on the chat. So like while I'm on the call, I'm drawing things so that whatever the people are saying gets converted into some kind of a schema or something.
Correct.
So
Right.
that way,
So you convert their say into the design that you have understood, and that's when you confirm it that you both are on the same page.
no, I'm trying to draw a schema of the problem itself, not designing per se, but the problem itself. So I'll
Yeah,
draw
the problem itself.
charts or I'll just write it down for them to see, and then I'll confirm. So this is what I've understood.
Okay.
Is this the problem that you're trying to solve? And that's how we solve. And then while we are doing all of this exercise, so lot of questions come up even for the project managers, and so we kind of build on the problem for a while and then we get to solving it.
Great. Thank you.
So Aditi, when you're doing stuff online, are you sharing that document? So you're whiteboarding then. You're whiteboarding with the
Yeah.
person that you're talking to.
Yes. Thanks for clarifying. Yes.
So that is really important. And again, when you're working remote, our communication skills have to be at the next level. We have to whiteboard, we have to take that extra initiative to talk, engage, otherwise it kind of loses. But I would also say I'm one of those guys, the old traditional guys. I believe that, and Aditi kind of has mentioned it on the side, which is, sitting in the office and talking to people will give you a lot more, obviously, but you also get to learn a lot more, like her colleague who's at the ISB. So if she's sitting with that person, she would actually be able to observe how that person is interacting, doing work, how they're thinking. So you get more face time. But here you have to be more deliberate and planned, but it's still doable.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a question from Muzakir, and I think there's a little bit of a question mark. It is when you say you have complete ownership of the project, how and from whom do you take feedback to enhance your design solutions?
So when I say ownership, it does not mean I can design whatever I see fit. We do define the output that this design should deliver. So when I take a problem statement, there is also a part where it is defined that this design solution should solve these three problems. So I would weigh the design against those statements. These are created by the project team, me sometimes, so all of us together, sometimes we kind of design these also. As far as project feedback goes, what we do in our team is we discuss amongst like designers. We usually share mock-ups within our team. Also, great feedback comes from software architects. So I usually present to them. Project managers are also, they may not be UX designers, but they do understand their user and the experience that is required. So they do give some good feedback. So I get like designing is probably 30% part of my design time. 70% is just getting feedback and iterating.
So it's not that, so I think in your deck, it might have come a little bit that way where you said, I just do the design and I launch it and then it's the next sprint, but that's not true. When you're doing the design, you're doing probably a lot of cycles of iteration before you make a decision to launch.
Right.
Correct. Awesome. So Vikrant, I want to ask you the same question. Okay. Who sets the goals for what you're doing in small and medium-sized companies?
Generally, from the design side, our CPO just gives us a direction कि we need to do this and we have to set up this metric, we have to achieve this metric, we have to achieve this metric. And especially in our team, we come up with the idea collaboratively कि how can we achieve it, how can we do this particular task, or how can we responsible for the kind of engagement that they actually want, the CPO or the CXOs wants. So we are the I would say कि we are the designers are the only person who sets the goal कि हमको ऐसा ही करना है, ऐसा ही करना है. And because of the we deploy fast and we do in a fast paced thing, so if we got failed in a 1 or 2 attempts, so we got a chance to do it and set up and in the next sprint. So here we are the only one who sets it. But the direction and the mentorship we directly got from the CPO.
So seems to me like on this case, both of you are on the same side, right? Where your product will have a business goal, right? There's engineering that is looking at viability, right? And you're looking at your user goals, right? And there are three ways that you're looking at it, and you have to look at it from all those three perspectives and ship. Now, this is interesting is I also know a lot of designers are micromanaged. And that is not the way good design gets done. Good design is exactly what Vikrant and Aditi are talking about, which is, somebody will tell you, like, as a product manager, I need to increase X number of users. Right? The business guy says, I need to increase X number of revenue. Right? And then you have to say, well, I have to do this while increasing the user experience by X percentage. So now you are all working together. You have a checklist. You have to do all your validation and everything. And you decide whether it launches or not. Is that right, Vikrant?
Yes. Completely.
Aditi, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So in good companies, it is the designer that decides what is ready to launch. Okay. Of course, there may be opinions and thoughts. It's a collaborative process, but you decide.
Yeah.
Right? And that is a really awesome point that you guys have made. Thank you very much. Achyut, go for it.
Yeah. Thanks to you guys, both Vikrant and Aditi. Like when Vikrant was talking, it's like I'm hearing myself. It's my position literally like at every moment and step. And when Aditi is speaking, like it's my aspiration to be wanting to be there. I can visualize every part of me being there. So having said that, because I've been through what I'm going through, what Vikrant is actually saying, Aditi, I have a question for you. What has driven you, or what drives you, or can you give something for someone like me who has to develop an entrepreneurial mindset? What exactly is it to have an entrepreneurial mindset, especially in terms of design?
In terms of design, I guess the entrepreneurial mindset can borrow from design thinking part of design in
Right.
the problem solving. That's what design would give you. You can come up with creative problems to very conflicting requirements. But apart from that, being an entrepreneur is all about management. I'll tell you. So, like in my journey, it's tough. I mean, I would say it's more about personality development. It might sound very weird, but let me kind of explain what I mean by that. As an entrepreneur, you have to be very assertive. You have to know what you're doing. You need to have homework in your hand. So if you say something, it has to carry that integrity.
Right.
And you have to back yourself. You have to. Entrepreneurship is a lot about interacting with people, and less to do with design. That's what I hated about being an entrepreneur. I never got to design much. It was mostly about talking to people, talking to clients, understanding what they were saying. So there are like a lot of soft skills involved.
Right.
You say something, they will want something else. Then understanding what they want and telling them that you need this. You don't need what you're saying, but you need this. So educating them about that. So it's like that. I mean, you have to develop a lot of other personality aspects to be an entrepreneur.
But Got it.
Design wise, you have to know your things. So like you could throw usability terms at a client if they are not
Yes,
your point.
do that. Yeah, got it. Got it. Just one question for Vikrant. Like, I just wanted to validate with my experience. Vikrant, with the kind of the changes that go through with every project you need, and you said so many processes have changed, and the methods keep changing as per requirements, and your interaction with many teams is also there. So, do you feel confident about yourself moving ahead when you look at the next project, or do you feel like, okay, my this thing in design is not going in depth? Do you ever face such questions? Like, at times I feel really confident that I'm learning so many things in a startup, but also at times I feel like, okay, I'm not going deep into design aspects. When will I go?
So,
Anybody can answer for that matter.
so
Aditi also.
for me, when I was design or when I received any problem statement from the stakeholders, so from the design perspective, I don't feel कि there is no confidence. I have always confident about the design part, but I always feel insecure about कि there I have to compromise my design for the business. Sometimes I make some decisions कि for the
Yes.
but my and like business does not support my design, and sometimes I compromise design because of the development effort. In
Yes.
startup, you have to deploy early, but you not every time मतलब, as a designer, I just want कि it should be a good interaction. It should have a micro interaction. It should have this kind of transition. But
Yeah.
in a fast-paced environment, uh, most of the times it happens कि not all the interaction and the micro things you have added into a design that deploy in
Will
a
go
very first
in.
phase. So
Yeah.
that gives me well, frustrated sometimes. But the only thing is this: while designing anything, I'm doing each and everything while I design, it has a problem, and that is my job to solve.
Yeah, makes absolute sense, Vikrant. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Achyut. Aditi, you have something to add to this?
I have a question for Vikrant.
Yes.
Go for it.
Okay, thanks. So, Vikrant, your journey itself is very inspiring. I mean, in an ideal world, I would have been something like you, but okay, whatever. So, what I want to know is, see, you started as a one-man army, and now you're like kind of building army. So, I want to understand how has your point of view changed while you look at a problem? Like as a person who used to do everything, the way you saw problems must be different, but now when you're looking at from a height, how does it, how how do you look at problems?
So from the initial career or the initial what I learned from my last mentor, my last company is कि just you have to not solve each and everything for now. You have to prioritize each and everything first of all, right? So if I receive, let's suppose कि then I was single designer there, so uh, I got a request from the marketing team, the sales team, from the product team, and from sometime for the I have to design the pitch decks for the CXO. So I have to now prioritize कि which task I have to pick first and what I have to do. So this is how I started, and now for now, same. Any kind of a problem that I receive, I directly talk to the uh, stakeholder कि which thing do you want to do at a very first thing, और क्या इससे करने से क्या पहले चीज हम सॉल्व करना चाह रहे हैं, एंड इट इज अ मोर वैल्यूएबल और नॉट कि जो आपने मेरे को बताया कि ये करने से चीजें होंगी. सो फ्रॉम दैट पॉइंट आई ऑलवेज प्रायोरिटाइज द थिंग कि मेरे को पहले क्या करना है और क्या नहीं करना.
Okay, thanks.
That is actually a very valuable lesson to learn, which is knowing what not to do. Because you may have time, you may not have, whatever it is. Once you learn how to prioritize, it will take you super high in your career. So, really good point, Vikrant. So, go ahead, Kranti. You have something you want to ask?
Yeah, my question is for both of
This
you,
is the
Vikrant.
last one, and then we will end at this point. Go ahead, Kranti.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Aditi and Vikrant. And it's like looking at two poles of the globe, like, yeah, startup and large company. And because everyone will aspire to be in some or other part, not like both of them. So right now I am at a startup and who are pivoting from service company to product company. So I really can relate with you. And also, Aditi, I'm looking at a lot of people and who are working for MNCs, and yeah, talking to them is like getting the same vibe after listening to you. So my question is like I want to understand what is the hierarchy in career in terms of career growth, like while working at startup and while working at large companies. So want to hear from you guys.
Hierarchy. Okay, I joined back as a UX product designer. I guess in another couple of months, I'll become a senior designer and then I'll be a principal designer. Work wise, like at least in Pega, I'll be doing my job. I mean, maybe I would have, like, if I become a principal designer, maybe I would have another product designer to help me with design. But it's not like design is taken away from me. I would still be designing, but I would probably be designing complicated tasks, and my reliability will be kind of, I'll be more accountable. If I say
Okay.
something, it will carry a lot more weight.
Okay. It's more of individual contributor, but it's like having someone with you while working on a project.
Yeah. It's not like I'll
Yeah.
be managing team. I won't have a team. At
Okay.
least not Pega. Maybe in other companies.
Okay. Thank you.
We're talking about startup. There is no fixed hierarchy. So when I was joined, I was single, so I was the head of the design at that time, and now I am a lead. So jokes apart. So there is no fixed hierarchy in our team. So now I am leading a team, but I am my hierarchy is the senior UX designer, and maybe if I want to go to get a promotion, then I will go to the head of the design or kind of a role. But there is no, because it is very flexible about all of these. In a startup, it is very flexible. There is no fixed kind of hierarchy.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, why I asked this question because recently I came across a person like who is very good at like what he does, and so within very few years, so he reached like head of design kind of role for that company, and he is guiding a lot of other people. So when we are looking at those kind of people, so one thing comes into mind is like, okay, whether how to measure what I'm doing, like, am I really good enough to lead that kind of roles, or like how much I need to spend honing my skills to match that kind of role or something like that. So in that perspective, I asked about this hierarchy, but thank you so much.
I would like to add, I think I misspoke. I mean, after principal designer, I guess like at some point I would like, at least in product company, product has like different parts, right? So I could become a head of a certain part of a product, and then I would get a team. I would still be a designer, but there would be a team who is designing that particular part, and I would
Okay.
in more of a advisor kind of a role. But in addition to designing, I would be also part of the decision making committee. So
Okay.
like a lot of decisions happen, get if for this particular part of the product, what should be our approach be for the next 5 years? Probably I'll
Okay.
get way in on that.
Got
That is
it.
part of my job as well.
Got it. Thank you, Aditi. And one small point I want to add, like for Achyut, this is for Achyut, like when for entrepreneurial mindset, one more point is like knowing when to pivot, like when to change your direction is something you can add to that list of points shared by Aditi. Yeah.
Guts is also important. I forgot that as well. You need lots.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for that.
When you're doing a startup or when you're an entrepreneur, you don't know if you're going to survive tomorrow. So every day is what it is. You're fighting for every day. And it's good, it's bad in different ways. But I would say that, for me, my recommendation always is if you can handle the pressure, you're willing to put in the time, right? Spend at least 3 years in a startup ecosystem. In the first 3 years of your career, right? Because that's when you have the time and the energy. Okay. Now, financially, there's a difference. Big companies will pay you more, they want to keep you, they're more selective, and they are not less willing to upskill you. They know that you can ship on day one, they're taking you in on that. Smaller companies will be, are not, they're looking for people who are what you call the equivalent of jugados. People who can think about what is the problem right now. Maybe something is not working, you go to bed, you sleep, you dream up something, you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you figure something out. You may not get the same kind of remuneration, but you probably will have stock options. You'll have other financial incentives where if you make it big, you'll make it bigger than anybody else. And I've had friends who would basically their company went IPO, they'd go buy a Lamborghini. And that's great. That's a great way of doing it. And that's the way, a guy who's regularly in a job, big company for all their life, you may never be able to afford a Lamborghini. Okay. That's the difference. So my advice is never on money. Don't worry about money, right? Don't even worry about what a big company branding and all that. Yeah, brand names definitely do help at some point, but the first priority is your learning, your ability to execute, and how versatile you're going to be. And that versatility, nothing can teach you how to be versatile better than a startup.
That's
And
right.
then when you shift into a larger organization, you are thinking in many different ways. And in fact, even the Harvard Business School has written so many cases about people in big organizations, okay, who have thought like entrepreneurs. Okay, because people who have that skill and to go to larger, and in fact, if you come to the Bay Area, what it is like somebody is an entrepreneur, has worked in a startup. Okay, big companies prefer those people. The reason they prefer them is these guys know how to hustle. So there's always an inherent bias, at least in the Bay Area. I don't know how it works in India, but in the Bay Area, there is always a bias for people who have done something on their own and hustled. So with that, I will leave you guys to think about it and really reflect on what you want to do and how you want to plan your career. No one path is good for any one individual, or one path is not good for everyone. Figure out what your path should be and plan accordingly. Thank you very much, Aditi. Thank you, Vikrant. This has been like a very awesome session.
Oh, thanks for inviting us. I had a ball. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, really, really thank you. This was an interesting session. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.